Morning everybody. Today I'm going to talk to you about my novel Invisible and give you a little bit of insight into what it's about, what it took to plan the novel and what it does take to plan a novel, and let you into my weird little brain, as I have a very strange little brain. To kickstart with any book that I write, and I write a lot of them, I always start off with a tiny little seed of an idea. It's one tiny little idea that I've got, and then over time I'll work slowly at it and it will germinate more and more and more, and I'll keep adding things to the plot, developing the characters till I get this fully blown idea. And that could take months, sometimes it takes years, and I'll have everything planned out, full chapter breakdown. I'll know everything that's going to happen in that book, and I won't write one single word of it until everything's been fleshed out. I'm a real planner. Not all authors are, but for me, I think it's really, really important, because otherwise you haven't got that control of the book like you should have. When it came to Invisible, I had a dream that I was invisible. Most of my books come from my dreams. And when I woke up in the morning, I thought, yeah, I want to write a story about someone who's invisible, but not like it's a superpower, or not like it's some sort of weapon or something she's going to be used. I wanted it to be a normal girl who's navigating life, but she's invisible. And I really got excited by this idea. So I wrote in my notebook, girl who's invisible. And that was it. That's all I had. So I am a serial novelist, so I've got an author brand, and I need to make sure that all of my books follow that author brand. So I write love stories with a twist. So I had to make sure I built romance into this, so my readers know what to expect. You buy a Lindsay Woodward book, you have to know what to expect. The twist was great. She was invisible, but I wanted it to actually be invisible. My books are weird things happening to normal people. It's the unexpected happening, but it's not that kind of, it was all a dream or anything like that, or it's a metaphor. I wanted it to actually be invisible and try and get around that. And then conflict. Conflict is so important. Conflict drives action. But if there's no conflict and everything's happy, it's so boring we wouldn't read it. That's why EastEnders is packed full of drama, because it would be boring otherwise, we wouldn't watch it. So I had to make sure I packed it with as much conflict as humanly possible, and then find a way to resolve it all at the end. So my initial idea, so I thought, I've got this invisible girl. How can she have a relationship with anyone if she's invisible? So I thought, well, I've got to make her not invisible again at some point in the book. And I thought, I've got it, brilliant idea. What I'll do is I'll have her meet her soulmate, and when she's in his presence, she comes back to life again. And that's my main character from the front cover of the book. So she comes back to life again. Brilliant. And then I thought, do you know what, though? It doesn't really go anywhere. What's the conflict? Because whenever she's in his presence, she can be seen, so he's not going to notice the difference. Yeah, it might be a bit of when she meets his parents and he goes off to the toilet and she disappears. I thought there might be a bit of drama there, but I thought generally not a lot is going to happen there. And I've got, well, the book's 94,000 words, and I knew I needed to get about 90,000 words out of this. You need a lot of action. So I just thought, absolutely not. Awful idea, scrap it, let's start again. So I spent months and months, just whenever I got a few quiet moments, what could I do? What could I do? And then one day I got stuck in my car in some really bad traffic, nowhere to go, nothing to do. I thought, right, I'm going to sit and really ponder this properly now. And I thought, what can I do? She's invisible. How can I bring her back? How can I tie in this love story? And then the gem of an idea hit me. I thought, why don't I take my original idea but turn it on its head? So instead of her meeting her dream man and she comes back to life, what if she meets a really horrible, ugly, awful man that she doesn't want to spend any time with at all? And that's when she comes back to being visible again. And I thought, yes, great. Because she's not going to want that, but she's stuck. Suddenly there's loads of drama that can come into that. And then I thought, what if then, to build the romance into it, she falls in love with his best mate? So I thought, right, so you've got this girl, she's stuck with this horrible, ugly bloke, and she's only when she's in his presence, when he's looking at her, can she be seen. As soon as he leaves the room, even goes to the toilet, she's going to disappear from sight. But she wants to chat up his best mate. She can't go on a date with him. She has to pretend she's dating this horrible, ugly bloke to give a reason as to why she wants to spend all this time with him. So she's in a bit of a predicament. But then I thought, yeah, that's still not enough. This is 90,000 words I've got to get. You need to pack a lot into a novel. I thought there's just something missing in all of this still. And then I had the best idea at all. Why don't I have it that he's completely wrong for her, and us as the readers know, and she's going out after all the wrong man, and actually we know there's a lovely, wonderful soulmate for her somewhere in the background. So she's friends with him. They've never met, because obviously she's invisible, but they talk online, they play games online, they speak on the phone. They've known each other for quite a while, but they've never actually met. And he is secretly in love with her, can't work out why she never wants to meet him. And so you've got this playing in the background. Suddenly you've got all these angles, all this stuff to play with. Suddenly you've got a really fully fleshed novel. And the best bit of tool that I could really play with, every time the ugly bloke disappears, she disappears from sight. So literally she is stuck with this man that she cannot bear to be with, or she disappears from sight. And she's trying to navigate all this romance and excitement of coming back into the world again, but she's got all these issues to play with. So to summarise, if that confused you, invisible girl, stuck with ugly man, fancies his best mate, wants to spend time with his best mate, and all the time as a reader though, you're reading and going, no, you've got this lovely man in the background, why are you not interested in him? Because she just can't see him and how perfect he is for her, because she's too overblown by all this other stuff happening in her life. And then I thought, you know what? There's no way this book cannot be a comedy. I thought, I haven't even got to work that hard to make it funny. So it was not my first comedy I've written, but this was the easiest comedy by all that I wrote. The laughs just wrote themselves. Because the important thing about writing comedy is you don't have people fall over. What makes us laugh in real life does not work in a book or on the screen. It has to be those complex relationships, those misunderstandings. You've really got to get involved. You've really got to empathise with the characters for it to be funny. And because I tied all these complications into it, I could have a lot of fun. And I absolutely loved writing this. So you've got all your plot, now you've got to develop the characters. They've got to be three-dimensional. It'd be too easy to make a lot of these caricatures, and I didn't want them. I wanted people to really feel and get on this journey and actually want these things to happen for these characters. So first you've got Alice. She's been invisible for 4.5 years. What happens to her is explained in the book. She's totally alone, of course she is, and very lonely, of course she is. But when I really started planning about how can I make this girl be totally able to live a life but not be seen by anybody, I really needed to think about the logistics of this. So I had to make her extremely clever. She's very smart, very adaptable. She's also quite well off. She's got a lot of money. She can afford to order Ocado deliveries all the time and never leave the house. So that was quite fun in itself, exploring how you could survive in the modern day world if you never saw anybody. And actually, the scary thing is, it's not that hard. She's also very, very strong-minded, again, and it did touch on ideas of mental health, which a lot of people picked up on. A lot of my reviews have picked up on that, about how when you're that lonely, you know, what you can do to keep yourself driving forward. And that was a really good thing to play, and I really enjoyed bringing those bits out in the book. And you got Carl. So yeah, so he's not a very nice looking bloke, but it had to be more it couldn't be that superficial why she didn't want to be with him, what makes him so horrible. It had to be the whole package. Is just in every way he's so desperately unappealing to Alice. So he's ridiculously naive, where she's this strong-minded, independent female. He's like a real mommy's boy. You just can't just survive. His mum makes his sandwiches for him. He's just, you know, he's a bit younger than her, in his early 20s. He's really awkward in social situations, so he's an absolute embarrassment to be with. She's just like, it's just everywhere she goes, she's just like, I can't believe I've got to be with this man. He's not the best at personal hygiene, so again, just packing in all the reasons why she just doesn't want to be with him. And then I couldn't resist adding this in for a bit of comic measure. I thought, he's a virgin, he's never had a girlfriend before, and suddenly this attractive girl, for reasons he can't explain, but he's not asking, seems to want to go out with him. So he's like, can we sleep together? Can we sleep together? Can we sleep together? And she's got to find every reason under the sun. She doesn't even want to touch him, let alone sleep with him. So I thought, yeah, again, we can have a lot of fun with that, exploring that, finding reasons why she just is every reason under the sun why she doesn't want to be with him, yet she can't afford for him to break up with her, so she's got to seem keen still. So again, that was really stretched my imagination, the things she was saying there. Ethan, the man that she is bedazzled by but is all wrong. Now, this is when I started thinking about the themes in my book, and the themes are everything's very invisible or very visible, and the two play against each other throughout the book. So whereas Alice is obviously literally invisible, she also gets lost from life in a lot of different ways. Whereas Ethan, one of the reasons she's drawn to him, he's totally visible. He's this beacon of I'm here. He's very vain, he's buff, waxed, greased hair, walks around, all the women look at him, and but it's nothing underneath, whereas Alice can't be seen, but she's just got so much to offer the world. And I really wanted to play those opposites against each other. And that's why, even though we know he's wrong for her as an audience, hopefully we can forgive the reasons why she's so attracted to him, because he stands for everything that she hasn't got. So he's selfish and single-minded. He's not a nice person to be around. He's lazy, not very smart, not like Alice, but then tries to run rings around her. But he does, wherever he goes, women stop and look at him. And she's just like, wow, he's everything. Whereas I walk around the room and nobody sees me. And then lastly, Dan. Dan, I had to make him this just good, reliable, middle-of-the-road man. And I was so pleased. So many of my readers have said how much they love Dan. I'm so pleased. He's very sweet and caring. Through the whole book, you see everything from Alice's point of view and Dan's point of view. And that was really important to bring out the comedy, because you can imagine when Dan and Alice first meet, Alice has got this funny little bloke, and she said, oh, my boyfriend's coming along. He's feeling really threatened. It all builds up. And then you see the whole thing through Dan's eyes, and he's like, that's my competition. She doesn't even seem to like him very much. Why is she dating him? And it just yeah, that actually I think is my favourite chapter in the book, when Dan and Alice first meet. And he's like, what is going on? He's also invisible in his own way, which again, is really important that they've got so much in common with Alice. And so many of us, when I was chatting to people about this in the planning, so many people feel invisible at times. It doesn't have to be literal, it could be metaphorical. And I really played that in there, how he keeps getting missed and not seen and missed opportunities. He's also ambitious and hardworking, again, a lot in common with Alice, and he's secretly in love with her. So through the book, you're like, what are you doing, Alice? Come on, Dan's there. And that, yeah, I just loved the romance in it. But hopefully it isn't cheesy. It's, you are rooting for them. So I'm just going to leave you with a short extract from the book, if you don't mind. I'm just going to read the part where Alice first meets Carl. So this is right at the start of the book. Alice, it's her birthday. She's decided to treat herself, get out of the house, and she's gone to the local bar. Obviously, she can't be seen. She has to be very careful she doesn't bump into people. And this moment, she's standing at the bar, and what she does on the odd occasion, she does go out, when no one's looking, she'll nip behind the bar and get herself a drink from the fridge. And she's justified this to herself, is the world has done this most horrendous thing to her by turning her invisible. The odd beer here and there, well, she's owed that, isn't she, surely? As she was eyeing up which drinks were closest to her, ready to put her plan into action, a smell hit her nose. She noticed it was emanating from the man that had just appeared next to her. He had a musty whiff about him, like he'd been left in the back of a cupboard in a really old house for years. He was short and plump, with badly greased up hair, as if he'd attempted some sort of trendy spiky look, and then someone had sat on him just as the gel was setting. Who's next? The barman asked. Alice returned her focus to the fridges, whittling down exactly what she could liberate with ease. She is, the whiffy man said, pointing in Alice's direction. She looked behind her, assuming she was standing in someone's way, but no one was there. What can I get for you? The barman asked, looking directly at Alice. She stayed very still and quiet, trying to work out exactly whom he was speaking to. Come on, love, I haven't got all night. She felt his eyes pierce into her. Are you talking to me? She asked quietly. I don't see anyone else standing there. What do you want? You can see me, she asked. She turned to the whiffy man, who was also staring at her. You can see me too? Yeah, he replied with confusion. Her jaw opened wide as a fizz of excitement shot through her. Could this really be happening? Thank you very much. Any questions?
So, how many sales are you aiming for, madam?
This actually is the book that they want to turn into a movie. So it's, I think it's going to be quite different to adapt it on the screen. Because she comes back to life in parts, so she's just got an arm floating around at one point.
Yeah. I was just thinking he was talking about drinking something. So, so as she drinks something, does it disappear, or is that...
You're going to have to read the book to find out. Everything like that's been worked out, everything. I spent ages. And then when my beta reader, so before you publish, you sent it out, and they kept going, you've missed that bit there, Lindsay, you've missed this bit. And that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, oh no, there's so much to think about in this world.
I've read the book, it's excellent.
Oh, thank you, Nicola.
Really enjoyed it, thank you.
So how long have you had this open?
This came out 2020, I think, this one.
Oh, okay.
So it gets the best reviews of all my books by far. So I've had some fantastic reviews for this.
That's good. Yeah.
It just amazes me how people like yourself are able to write. I mean, most films and plays we see on TV start with a book, don't they? Based on a book by whatever. Yeah. And with all the stuff that goes on in life, you know, family life, whatever, how you sort of manage to clear your mind so that you can think, put a plot together without all the white noise of sort of everyday life coming in.
And to have a plot which is different.
And to have the whole thing coming down to a conclusion at the end, I think it's you know, an incredible thing.
You get obsessed with it. I can't, when I'm in the throes of, not when you've got the nugget, but when I'm starting to say, right, this is starting to come together, I can't sleep, I can't stop thinking about it. I get really excited by it, and it's all the other stuff that gets, that's the white noise.
3 o'clock in the morning, one of those stuff.
Oh, yes. Do you know what I've started doing in this modern age? I email myself with my notes. Can't lose the paper thing. Just have to. It's if you get a random email from me at 3 o'clock in the morning that said, Alice is doing this, it's just my note.
It's interesting though, because you sort of think when somebody's an author, they just sit down and start writing, and all that you went through, and being stuck in the traffic and the ideas having to come together and how you go about it. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Subconscious is a fantastic thing.
Do you find that once you send the script off, that you still have more ideas as to how you can develop it, or are you able to stop?
In terms of the book, unless I find there's a hole in the plot from the planning stage, I'll make very little changes. Things happen, like you realise things about characters, there'll be minor things, but yeah, the plot rarely changes that much.
But have you left yourself the possibility of another one, a continuation?
Not for this one. I mean, I've got a series of 4 and there's a 5th book coming, like that's a follow-on story. And some of them I think, where could I take these characters? Now, actually, my brand new book, I've had all the feedback from that, and one of my beta readers was like, you've got to do a spin-off with this one character. I was like, no, I've got other ideas. But it's nice that people invest in the characters. But this, to me, it just ended in my mind so perfectly. I don't know what you thought, Nicola, but they're just, to me, it's, yeah. It was all wrapped up, and she's invisible forever. That's that, you know.